A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, it is a period of sparkling your life and pumping it up. In the unforgiving and isolating world of show business, Elizabeth will do whatever it takes to stay in the game, even subjecting herself to a black market drug with unique effects. But the substance has rules, and if the balance is not respected, the price will be paid. Blood for blood, flesh for flesh. The substance contains graphic depictions of drug use, nudity, body horror, and sex. Please proceed according to your needs and comfort level. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed therein are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of their employers. Hello there, and welcome back to 6 Degrees of Star Wars, the podcast where we explore all the ways George Lucas's flagship franchise surrounds us, binds us, and penetrates us in the landscape of cinema. I'm your host, Sam Marchioni. Joining me today, Sydney McGahee.
Hello. My name is Sid, and it's time to pump it up.
And Todd B.
Hi. And I gotta say, as my second go-around, all respect to James Earl Jones and Brad Dourif, we got a much better class of horror film this time around.
Yes, we are looking at the newly minted Oscar winner, though not for the one we kind of thought it would be, The Substance, which stars Demi Moore and was directed by Coralie Fargia. Oh god, have I just forgotten how to do any French? But anyway, this is embarrassing on multiple levels.
Greetings, I am IER60, Star Wars Retelling Connections. Point of intersection found. This is a degree 5, featuring Chris Lyons, Dave Elsley, Lou Elsley, Olivier Lachette, Tammy Treadwell, and Judah Getz. Additional source material found. This is a retelling of Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. For further details and uncredited amendments, check out 6 Degrees of Star Wars.tumblr.com/sibling blog.
So, big thanks to all of you guys. Congratulations on your Oscar.
I was ready to call foul if anything else took that.
Yeah, I mean, thank God it was in makeup and not visual effects, because can you imagine this losing to Dune?
Whew. Well, that'd be tricky. It's like, yeah, I like both, but for very different reasons.
Yeah, this needed to win makeup.
I'm disappointed this wasn't in editing.
I was disappointed it wasn't in cinematography. I really liked the cinematography on this one.
Especially knowing the budget they had to work with. My wife put it best, Coralie directed the hell out of this movie.
She really, really did. That director Oscar nom was deserved. We can leave the Honora autopsy for another day, but it's really fun. And, you know, this does have another Star Wars connection that came out like a few weeks before we rolled this up, actually. One of the very, very first things Coralie ever did as a director was creating little stop-motion Star Wars fan films. She posted them on YouTube through Letterboxd, so you can check that out, and it's kind of adorable.
Speaking of directing, I really think this film would have been a different movie. It would have been a different experience if it did not have a female director.
Yeah.
Oh, no question.
Maybe I'm colored by my experience with it, but this was giving some Black Swan vibes to me.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah, like if you got creative enough, you could do an if I had a nickel argument about how it's about a fragile woman in the entertainment industry under the thumb of misogynistic prick who feels threatened by a newer person who seems to be a dark double of her, and the result is that she goes on a downward spiral of self-destruction. But that's crazy talk.
I mean, you picked the more academically sound way to put it. For a while there, I was selling this to people as It's Seconds Meet Society with a dash of Dead Alive.
I'm not sure I know what any of those are.
That may be for the best, depending. I'll just put this as a gauge there. Dead Alive was from Peter Jackson's early splatterpunk days.
Yeah, you're in Ellie territory right now, and in case she's listening, Ellie, what the fuck? So, it's really hard to figure out where to talk about this movie, because, like, I think the big thing that's gonna stay with everybody for forever is the makeup.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's, oh my god, what was I going to say?
In the meantime, I'll just... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Actually, Todd, you can go.
I gotta say, this, even though this didn't quite get to the award heights we were hoping for, I do love the fact that we can now safely say we live in a world where a body horror film is an Academy Award winner.
Yeah. The Academy continues to be squeamish about horror, but God, was it good to see a makeup winner that wasn't for a goddamn fat suit.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. And I'm also gonna, like, offer a hot take. I feel like some part of why Demi Moore lost steam on the Oscar race, aside from Neon pouring $18 million into Anora's awards campaign, Jesus Christ, what the fuck, is... This feels more like Margaret Qualley's movie to me than it does Demi Moore's. Did you guys have that vibe?
I actually wouldn't say it's entirely a hot take if some of the secret ballots are anything to go by.
I think that's an interesting take.
Because, yeah, there were a few people who kind of argued, like, they were going for Mikey Madison or Fernando Torres because they felt like they had to do more to carry their films, whereas, yeah, The Substance is kind of a two-hander.
But remember, you are one. I give all the credit to the guy who was playing the voice on the phone, because perfect bad customer service voice.
I will admit, going into tonight, I was having a moment of, like, I feel like there is a great joke to be had about the concept of the balance not being respected in relation to Star Wars, but it did not come together in time.
Yeah. I mean, God knows, as a prequel enjoyer, I have had my share of debates about, is Anakin Skywalker separate from Darth Vader, or is Darth Vader part of Anakin Skywalker? And we're like, oh God, here we go again. But, yeah.
I'm sorry, slotting those two into these roles here, now I just picture the cave on Dagobah as Luke is just doused in blood.
Speaking of doused in blood, Sid brought up in the chat, also R.I.P. original Carrie.
Because when you mentioned body horror, I consider Carrie a body horror piece.
Did Carrie win an Oscar? I need to double check that now.
I know Piper Laurie was nominated, but... So
was Sissy Spacek.
Piper Laurie was nominated for an Oscar, original Carrie. I think at this point, Natalie Portman is the last person who won for anything remotely resembling horror in the acting categories. But, Demi got close. She got closer than Daniel Kaluuya did with Get Out, which, travesty. Utter travesty.
And I mean,
Daniel, I'm glad you got that Oscar now. You should have it in the leading category, but I don't know, maybe you'll get it playing Barney the dinosaur. What era do we live in?
I mean, they both still got closer than Toni Collette, because, yeah, there's a reason people still call that one of the great snubs of the past 20 years.
Yeah, this was a weird movie to get through.
Yeah.
A couple weeks back, we were doing Love Lies Bleeding, and I mentioned that needles and injuries at needles sites squick me out, and oh God.
Oh, yeah,
this one, I am glad I did not see this in the theater, if only because it meant I could keep pausing to, go to a happy place for a little bit.
For what it's worth, have now done both theater and at home. Yeah, there was a couple that screening that tagged out on, like, the first activation.
Yeah.
While I was watching it, like, I was like, how does she know how to use this automatically? I would not know how to...
I had those questions too.
I'm like, girl, were you a drug addict? Like, what's going on? Like, how did you know how to use this automatically? I would be so confused.
Was there an extra instruction booklet that we missed aside from the activate once, stabilize every day, switch every 7 days, no exceptions, remember you are one? Because, like, all that shit is very good for, like, branding or whatever, but, well, I'd say it's opening you up to a lawsuit, except
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that there's a contract involved here or like any exchange of money.
Well, I mean, that
Yeah, we didn't see her sign anything.
That then goes to the question that I've had about this. So, there's the man at the diner, which kind of seems to imply this is a common side effect for people who use this.
So the man at the diner was the original Matrix of the nurse.
Yeah. So, there's the implication this is something that just, it frequently happens with this, is Monstro Elisa the first time that has happened, and especially at such a public degree.
I would think so.
Either that or they have one hell of a legal team.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And then there's also the Dennis Quaid of it all.
I loved the fact that the camera makes Dennis Quaid look so disgusting.
I feel loath to give him credit considering last year he also had that Reagan hagiography, but
Yes.
Yeah,
God
yeah,
damn.
no, like, I kept questioning whether or not he was in on the joke, and apparently this role was originally gonna be played by Ray Liotta, but then he passed, and God.
man, I'm trying to picture what Leota's version of that'd be like. I almost feel like it would be more gruesome in some ways. Like, I could be wrong, it's like, I can't picture him having like that same almost, and again, I feel a little bad saying this, knowing some of his past problems and substance, but Harvey in the last act of that movie is coked to the gills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they never say it, but the way Quaid plays is like, he is on something.
He
Yeah.
doesn't wash his hands either.
I don't know how much of that was him and how much of it was direction, because given how Dennis Quaid has turned out politically, like, I don't know how much he was in on the joke.
That is, again, the weird part is, it's like, you're making these two movies in the same year, how do you thread that needle?
Yeah, because, like, remember, this got run in comedy at the Golden Globes.
I'm still trying to, that's always a weird category though, I'm still trying to figure out why Heretic was a comedy.
I don't know, but God.
I can at least kind of see the case for the substance, because there are some very black comedy absurd beats in that movie.
Yeah, the ending. Camp. Or when the backstage guy recognizes the monster as Sue and was like, there you are.
Oh,
What
like-
was that real, or was that one of the things in the Monstro Eliza Sue's head? Because I know that the part where she has that whole parade of people clapping for her, that was hallucinated, but like,
I kind of, given just the weird heightened reality of the movie, I kind of love the implication of nobody puts it together until, like, the cut-off face comes off. Because it is one of those movies where the more you try to really break it down into a real world thing, it's going to come apart. You just enjoy the fact this film it's running on its own weird set of internal logic.
and also, like, they were filming this in 2022, and so it does kind of feel like a lot of this was COVID shooting. A lot of it is very small and very, I don't want to say intimate, but
Isolated.
Isolated,
yeah.
yeah.
And apparently that was also something that, like, drew Demi Moore to it. Like, she talked about how she felt there was some level of removal from the character because Elizabeth is somebody who is completely isolated. She doesn't have friends and family the way Demi Moore does.
The set design, especially with, like, her apartment, which is, like, it's this vast penthouse thing, and just...
Yeah, and also lack of backstory. I actually do like it when films don't really have a backstory for characters, or they leave stuff out for characters.
Yeah, although they mention her winning the Oscar,
Yeah.
and yet I don't remember ever seeing it displayed on her trophy thing. Like, we have multiple shots of her snow globes and some other awards, but not an Oscar. And between the winning an Oscar and now she's a fitness person, I'm like, was Jane Fonda an inspiration for this?
That's actually a good question. That's kind of what I wondered about.
Yeah.
It also does speak to the idea of, like, especially in Hollywood, once you're past a certain age, unless you're someone like Meryl Streep, it's all those accomplishments just need to dry up and blow away. Which, granted, they're slowly getting better at, but for a while there, yeah, that was... Whew.
Yeah. And I was reading that Demi wasn't the first choice. Well, actually her name is pronounced like Demi. It's not
Yeah,
Demi,
I
it's
know.
Demi.
Unfortunately, I, at the very least, am stuck in the age of
Demi Lovato.
Demi Lovato. But also, like, I swear to God, the main thing I knew Demi Moore from before this was fucking Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I remember having Disney VHSs talking about the exciting new sequel of The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, and the freaking announcer said her name Demi Moore.
Oh god, that's right. They did actually crank out another one of those.
Yeah, and it's awful. And eligible for this podcast.
I figured as much. It's like, just leave it.
But apparently she wasn't the first choice. It was other actresses were up for the role, and I was thinking who else, and I wonder how this film would be different.
I don't know that I can see Julianne Moore doing this, but, like, sometimes it's wild to think, okay, actually most of the actresses I'm thinking of are in their 50s, I think. Like, Cate Blanchett would probably devour this role.
I was thinking Amy Adams.
That's not a good pitch, although I think Amy Adams is a little more cerebral most of the time.
In a weird way, it almost feels like this needs somebody who has been, I don't want to say necessarily out of the public limelight for a little while, but somebody where, again, they're not going to be automatically instant star power. You're going to sit and go, again, I love Cate Blanchett. It would be really hard to see her in this as the past her prime, seen as a fading star. Oh, her case.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to see Demi Moore in that light, though, too.
Cause I'm like Demi's gorgeous. Like,
I would also, I would respectfully disagree just in the case of when this came out, people were like, holy crap, she's back.
yeah.
Yeah, but, like, she's not exactly, like, past her prime physically, which is...
Well, that's also kind of by design, the idea of, like, this is the absurdly high standards of Hollywood.
If I looked like Demi Moore, I would pay a plastic surgeon.
That's my wife, Liz.
Todd's wife.
Which, again, for the record,
Hi.
she has said this is one of her favorite movies of last year.
Good for you.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it. I almost came in yelling, do I hear people talking about the substance? No, I actually would like to chime in and just say, invite myself onto this. I love Demi Moore as a pet.
Yeah, but I think another thing with Demi is that if you don't have Demi, I don't know who you cast for the younger character, because they really got
this is a
lucky
two-hander
with...
performance, and true to the central purpose of the movie, if the two actresses aren't really meshing, the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah. Because Margaret kills it.
She's been on a roll lately, so serious. It's kind of a shame she wasn't up for Best Supporting for this.
Would have swapped Felicity Jones out for her in a heartbeat.
I did notice, though, Sue does wear 80s clothes as if, like, she's reliving her prime.
I actually, I wrote in my notes that this takes place in the same time period as Bottoms.
That would explain why nobody was that shocked about the bloodbath on that football field.
It's a very 80s-ified version of the 2020s. But also, you can kind of see the budget, the way, Sue is doing the big New Year's show. It's a tiny-ass studio that, I've given concerts at a high school in a bigger space. I'm just guessing that all the budget went into the makeup and...
Money well spent. Let's be fair.
Money well spent. Also, for the big New Year's Eve show, that starts at 9 p.m., and they have topless dancers?
And kids in the audience.
That's where I kind of did the spit take there.
Incredible.
On the plus side, thanks to Monster Isasu, though, that's not even going to register for those kids.
Scarred for life. You want to talk about Fred or nah?
Oh, please talk about Fred. Go ahead, start the conversation.
Viewers at home, if you don't know who Fred is Elizabeth's ex-high school classmate who comes up to her and basically starts a conversation with her and says, you were the prettiest girl in class. I want to reconnect with you. Do you want to go out? Gives her his number. And later on, I guess when she's feeling a little down, she finds his number again, and she calls him up, asks him out on a date, and she gets ready for the date and sees Sue's billboard. Well, actually, let me backtrack. Gets ready for the date, and when she goes out of her apartment, she sees Sue's billboard, and she starts making up, goes out of her apartment, sees Sue's billboard, goes back to the restroom to make up, and then it just repeats. until she takes off her makeup and starts to cry, and Fred texts her and asks if she's okay. Why are you late? Not why are you late, but just are you okay? I know Star like you likes to make a big entrance, like start stuff like that. And he is the only man that asks her if she's okay. That's something to notice in the film. I think the only person, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because when Fred was introduced, a red flag went off in my head. Like he was, gonna be a stalker or like super entitled or anything. But no, he's really sweet, and I think he would still love her even if she was a worm.
Aww.
Or a shriveled, hunchbacked matron. I don't know how I feel about some of the visuals, like, and how they might play into ableism. But God, as somebody who's not even 30 yet and her knees sometimes hurts when she bends over to like pick up a pencil, God, I felt those awful scenes of her trying to make her leg move.
I was genuinely almost braced for, oh crap, is that bone going to snap?
I don't know. It does kind of remind me of how a lot of women in the entertainment industry say, like, oh, I don't date other men in the industry, because sometimes men in the industry do get jealous and do get vindictive and stuff like that, and other men, like men who aren't in this industry, are like Fred, like they'll lift you up and say like, you're the prettiest woman in the world to me and you're a star to me.
And the fact that it's like he knew her before she got big, it's kind of that he doesn't have that preconception.
Yeah, I felt so bad.
Also, god damn, that makeup scene is just a really emotionally harsh moment to pull off, and Moore kills it.
She does kill it. I think her Oscar clip should have been the makeup scene, but maybe that's just with the hindsight of her Oscar clip is her screaming at a younger version of herself, and then bam, Mikey Madison wins.
Admittedly, I did not get to see the Oscar clip they chose because I was watching on Hulu, and as soon as 10:30 hit, they just rolled up shop. They did not think that one through.
They did the part where she's like screaming at the TV and flashing her tits at Sue's billboard.
See, I initially had half joked about them picking that seat, although it was more for the moment earlier, which I have just taken referring to as angrily fisting a chicken.
God. French food is complicated in the best of circumstances, but God, I feel like some things about this movie might give people eating disorders if they didn't already have them.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes this film reminds the audience too much, like that scene where it was like something to keep you occupied, or like, oh, we're one, when she messes up the substance and whatever, and it's like, we understand, we get it. Like I think we understand, movie. I don't think the audience is stupid. You don't have to jiggle keys in front of us. We're not infants.
Yeah, there are a couple of instances in my notes like, it's a metaphor, get it? Get it? Get it?
Also, maybe I am a bit of a romantic, but I do wish we had a scene where, I don't know, I do kind of wish she did go on the date, so maybe she had a bit of a connection. I do understand why the decision to keep her in the apartment, to keep her isolated, but I don't know. I do kind of wish she kind of made that connection.
Yeah, speaking of Darren Aronofsky, I already invoked Black Swan, but it also unfortunately kind of reminds me of The Whale, which I had to watch for Ellie's podcast, and God, I hated it. I was so miserable watching that. At least I was, like, entertained somewhat by this. But, like, this movie has two modes. It's like, oh my God, I feel so sorry for Elizabeth. And then it's Sue. It's like, how was I supposed to know there would be consequences for my actions?
There is also kind of that sense of, and especially going off of the makeup scene, it is the idea of, like, Sue kind of becomes this externalized self-hatred, which, I mean, they say as much during that failed termination sequence. She has that moment of, I need you because deep down I hate myself.
Yeah, that was a really well done scene between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it also kind of feels like yet another point where the movie could have ended, but it kept going.
Yeah.
I almost feel like after a point, it kind of turned into, look, we've set the ball in motion. We have to see where this plays out. Because if they tapped earlier, the audience is going to be like, well, what happens if this happens? And instead it becomes the ultimate substance. It's like the substance cautionary film strip of this is what you don't do.
You make it sound like the substance people did all this on purpose.
Oh, I definitely doubt they did this on purpose, but I do kind of love the idea, like, afterwards this almost becomes like their shake hands with danger moments.
This is your brain. This is your brain on the substance. This is your brain on too much the substance. If she didn't want to make those comparisons, she shouldn't have opened with an egg.
Whatever you do, don't abuse this stuff, or otherwise become like 503. What's 503? Roll the tape!
Aside from that, it was kind of a nice touch to, like, bookend the film with the Hollywood star, aside from that one shot of the egg.
I did enjoy the Hollywood star opening sequence to show passage of time, her relevance fading. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And again, the way it all kind of comes full circle where, in the end, she's literally just a stain that's washed off her star.
Yeah, like, again, she had a film star on the Walk of Fame. Like, there are different little icons for different stars on the Walk of Fame, and she doesn't have a TV star, she has a film star. And again, I'm like, this woman was an Oscar winner and we're, like, not talking about it at all? At all?
Admittedly, the one other line they bring that up, it's when we're... it took me 3 times to really catch the bit of foreshadowing that goes with it. Where Harvey's derisively like, what'd she win her Oscar for? King Kong. The single most famous line of that movie. 'Twas beauty killed the beast.
Nah, I see what you did there.
And... yeah, it's like, I look at like, how had I not caught that sooner?
This does have some, Hammer horror vibes, some, no, not exploitation. I need to see more movies so that I can know what I'm comparing it to, because I know this has similar vibes to something. Like, I also saw some Kubrick vibes in there.
He's been upfront about things like Kubrick and Cronenberg were influences on her.
Okay, yeah, that is probably part of it. I am way too scared of Cronenberg to even look at that.
There are a couple of kind of safer ones to go with, but yeah, there's like some which are a little too deep into the water. Like, I'd say something like the Dead Zone's probably on the safer side, but yeah, probably avoid stuff like Scanners, Videodrome. Honestly, the other I almost want to compare it to is the film kind of gets to like some of the weird, it's like the kind of almost heightened reality sort of social conscience horror of Larry Cohen. Which I don't know if that was deliberate or not, but some of his, like, the stuff is probably his most famous example, which is basically like about this, it is this fad super diet thing that turns out to have its own form of horrific consequences, and body horror likewise ensues. Look, with Ellie's not here, someone's got to keep the what the fuck torch going.
Why is that a job we have? Why?
I don't know.
Unbelievable. Have either of you seen Lessons in Chemistry, the Brie Larson and Agent Naomi King show on Apple TV?
Admittedly, no. I think the only thing from Apple I have seen at this point is Severance.
Okay, so, like, that whole thing is that Brie Larson is a chemist who becomes a TV cooking show host, and, like, initially they're, like, trying to make the show cater to men and all. Oh, look, she's sexy, she's the perfect housewife, but then Brie Larson's character is like, no, I'm going to do this my way, and women really fucking like the show, which is why I question the wisdom of Harvey, like, pulling Elizabeth, because, like, you have a woman in her 60s who looks like that. Isn't her target audience moms? And then we get to Sue's whole pump it up thing, and I'm like, this is thinly veiled porn. This is the shake weight commercial. This isn't really aerobics. This is wank bait. And I'm like, okay, fine. Demographics. Males 18 to 34. You got them.
Which, so, it's pretty much all accepted, yeah. Harvey was very deliberately named, right?
Oh, of course. But it's also, like, I think this is part of the movie that also kind of fell a little flat for me. Like, it kind of feels like there were one too many shots of Sue being, like, super objectified, played straight. I don't know, am I alone in thinking that?
It's tough to say, is like, I can see the case for it with, like, the workup the same. It almost feels like it's being played to absurdity, although that is a really fine line to balance on.
Yeah, Sid, if you have any insight, please feel free.
I can see where you're coming from, because sometimes I feel like it was a little too much. Because I could see what they were trying to do, but I'm like, this is a little too much. Like, we could have at least one shot less of her backside or their backsides. It's not needed.
Yeah.
I get you have Margaret Qualley there, but...
I think that's also part of the Coralie's whole directorial style is so in your face that I think it can sometimes then get lost.
I'll admit I do still need to see Revenge, so I can't quite compare it.
Yeah. I guess I'll compare this to Love Lies Bleeding. Todd, I'm gonna guess you've seen that?
Not only have seen it, actually we recently rewatched it this weekend.
Yeah. So Sid, have you seen it yet, or?
No, not yet.
Okay, so the TLDR version of that is Katie O'Brien and Kristen Stewart form a sapphic relationship, and Katie O'Brien's a bodybuilder who keeps using drugs to enhance her performance, and Kristen Stewart's dad is a You know what? I'm not going to try to explain Love Lies Bleeding. It's really...
lesbian crime thriller, let's leave it at that.
Yeah, sure, lesbian crime thriller. But that movie says very little overtly. It works a lot more on, like, metaphor and symbolism stuff, whereas, especially with the character of Harvey, I think The Substance is a movie that says the quiet part out loud, and I don't know how much that actually works for me as a whole.
I feel like this is one where, again, because it's got that comedic element, I'm a little more forgiving enough than if it was played completely straight, where it would be, to make another Darren Aronofsky callback, I spend the first half of the movie Mother going, I get it, Darren. I get it, Darren. I get it, Darren!
I didn't even see that.
I respect how absolutely bugfuck crazy the back half gets, but the first half is a very painfully on-the-nose biblical allegory.
Yeah, I've heard that. Darren Aronofsky has gotten weird since he became overtly religious. But I don't think this movie's religious. I think it's more, to put it in religious metaphors, it is much more fixated on the golden calf of idolatry that is the Hollywood narcissistic vanity machine, yada yada yada.
And how it will, as even one line puts it, quite literally eat you alive if you let it.
Yeah.
And also the female body, because Elizabeth literally gives birth to Sue.
Oh, that's another thing. Like, this is the stupidest fucking note I made. I'm like, do a ladder stitch. Do a ladder stitch. It will be much neater and less obtrusive.
I mean, look, she's already got her needle game on point. Can't do it all.
Yeah, but it's, God, nope. Hated all of that. Hated the part where, like, she's jabbing earrings into these flesh bits. Hated the part where a spare mouth vomits up an extra boob. I want to know what drugs Coralie is on to come up with this stuff.
The same one Stephen King was on, coke, probably.
I mean, King's kind of run the gamut. There was that. There was his liquor phase. There was the painkillers he's on after his car accident. That's the primary reason we have Dreamcatcher.
Is that the one with the poop monsters?
The very same.
God, why?
Yeah, even he looks at that as a, what the hell was I thinking?
You know what? Props for Mubi putting this out there and getting it all the way to an Oscar.
Going back to the other thing, yes, the Academy has a bias against horror. It is even more biased against something that would be like this audacious, and the fact they got it to, like, it got nomination for Best Picture and Best Director, that is a feat.
And screenplay. I have the screenplay, like, downloaded somewhere on my hard drive. I need to go back and actually read it now, because apparently only 29 pages of the 146-page script have dialogue. And she included onomatopoeia, like, splosh, and
I need to hunt this down now.
I will try to find it.
Yeah, I know it's still out there, because they put a lot of that out with awards season. Just got a link now.
Apparently this film has been compared to Promising Young Woman.
Oh, this is so much better than Promising Young Woman. Emerald Fennell is way too tame compared to this.
I can see the comparisons, though.
And found it.
I think every time somebody makes a good-for-her movie that's not really a good-for-her movie, it's gonna get compared to the previous good-for-her movie. But, this might also be a point. They share a cinematographer with Promising Young Woman.
Huh.
Okay, that makes sense.
Benjamin Klassen? That's a Scottish name? My God. Oh, Croatian father, German mother. Okay. So I guess having a cinematographer shared would help. Like, going back to the Oscars again, I'm still in shock that Lowell Crawley won for The Brutalist, because my experience with Lowell Crawley is Vox Lux with just Willem Dafoe narrating over people's backs, which boring. I hated
Visually,
that so much.
there is more to offer there for The Brutalist. wasn't a favorite. It's like, it wasn't necessarily one of my favorites of last year, but I will give it that much. Visually, it does bring a good game.
Yeah.
Also, to your point about the descriptive elements of the script for the substance, I'm looking at it right now. She spent 2.5 pages on just the Walk of Fame opener.
Wow.
And it is very well detailed. I gotta hand it to her for that.
I guess that's part of how you get a nomination. I mean, I'm also looking at the movie lookbook, and the initial picture, very Jane Fonda. So, yeah, I really do think Jane Fonda was a big part of this. But also, we are wrapping up March with this episode, so can I ask that there not be any more nipples for a while on this podcast? I am nippled out.
I mean, so far the only things I've submitted to the queue have been, I will just say they were nipple-free and leave it at that.
This whole lookbook is absolutely incredible for Mubi, because there's, like, some great, like, noir stuff. There was some noir vibes in this as well that I like. And, yep, there's Kubrick, there's American Beauty, and wow, just... wow, I'm honestly digging it. There's a badly photoshopped blood splatter over the 2015 Cinderella. Amazing. Coralie, I will have a barf bucket, but I will absolutely be seeing your next film.
I'm genuinely curious where she's gonna go from here.
I mean, one would hope that she's going to be able to make what she wants to make. Apparently, at one point, she was in contention for directing Black Widow and then said no because she wanted more creative control than Marvel gives, which is a happier ending than a lot of indie directors who work with Marvel.
Yeah, pouring out for Chloe Zhao. She got chewed up and spit out.
Hey, she's coming back. She's got a Shakespeare biopic thing happening.
Okay, now I'm interested. Yeah, she got done dirty over the Eternals.
I do hope Demi has more opportunities in the future for Oscar nominations. A lot of people are saying she's done. I hope not. There have been women who have won Oscars who are older than her in the past, so
yeah, we were on a pretty good run of Best Actress winners being over 30 at least until Mikey Madison happened. I'm still mad about Emma Stone. I am still mad about Emma Stone beating Lily Gladstone. Like, no.
The one thing I will give her in that regard is when her name got read, she had to look on her face like, oh shit.
Yeah, but honestly, I think The Substance and Poor Things could make for a really interesting double feature, though.
That's one I actually hadn't considered.
They both have that same kind of flavor of weird, you know? Just a little.
I mean, there is definitely that same kind of bizarre heightened reality element. That I can definitely see.
Yeah. And, you know, I do appreciate how this movie is standing as part of the return of stylization, because I feel like stylization is a big thing we've been missing. And so I'm glad to see it slowly working its way back into cinema. Into
Agreed.
Mainstream cinema, I should say.
Also, one thing for if this kind of marks a general comeback for Demi, I think one of the things she's got going for her is this was a performance where some of the best beats of it were nonverbal, and that is, I kind of appreciate when a person can sell so much just with an expression. Especially for, like, there's the off-joke about the Oscar one is almost always the you're playing up to 11. I like the idea that a lot of this performance is just in her not saying anything, just her processing what she is seeing.
Yeah. And it's also worth noting that she goes all out on all the scenes. Like, I loved the scenes of her in her little babushka getup. And I want that coat. I want that yellow coat.
You know the reason why the coat is yellow?
No, I don't.
It's supposed to remind you of, like, Wonder Woman. Like, it's supposed to remind you of, like, a superhero.
Oh! Oh, God, no. No. Nobody let Marvel near Demi Moore. She deserves better.
I mean, at the very least, she's in that category. It would be like, it's a one and done. I think. I could be wrong. They've got Julia Louis-Dreyfus on lock at this point, so I could be wrong.
Once Marvel gets you, you're got.
The money.
There's a reason why Idris Elba went just kill me.
Yeah, and even that didn't save him. He came back in the end credits scene, motherfucker. I'm so tired. Marvel is so tiring.
I kind of tapped out a while back and haven't looked back.
Honestly, I feel like if they'd made Sue, like, the star of a very clear Marvel XP, very little would have been lost.
I mean, that probably would have been where it would have gone had the system not broken down before then.
Yeah.
True.
She probably would have had her own talk show. Probably would have had Probably would have been in a Marvel movie, like had her own franchise.
Yeah. Hopefully with better dresses than whatever quinceanera bullshit she was walking around in. Like, that was a quinceanera dress, right?
That hadn't even occurred to me.
I'm on Pinterest a lot, and there's a lot of stuff that I click on because I think that it looks cool, and then it turns out to be a quinceanera dress, and I'm like, okay.
Quinceas are cool, though.
Oh, quinceaneras are so cool, but they have a specific aesthetic, and the aesthetic is the dress looks as much like a cupcake as possible.
I do wonder why the dress is blue, not pink, though. I'm trying to think what blue would signify. Well, sometimes it is just like, oh, this color looks good on you. Because I remember Toni Collette said it in an interview, like, sometimes the costume department would just put you in an outfit because that outfit just happens to look good on you. It doesn't mean anything.
I do think it was kind of supposed to be like a contrast thing, because, like, blue looks really good against red. So I think it would be a clearer visual thing to have, like, all that red blood staining a pretty blue dress, because even this movie has limits, and white might have been a little too on the nose.
I'm still thinking about how in the West Side Story 2021 version, Maria should have been wearing white in the final scene.
Well, that's an episode for another day.
I mean, she wore blue in the final scene, too, which fits, I guess.
I think blue just films really, really well, I think.
Blue Abadi, Abadai, Abadi, Abadai.
Anybody else have any other thoughts? Or should I just stick this needle into the back of your spine and I'll have the younger, more perfect, more beautiful you give me your thoughts?
Well, that would be an infant. I'm only 20. About to turn 21.
Oh, my back!
To be honest, 20-year-old me was kind of a dipshit, so let's just leave him in my spine where he belongs. The only other thing I'll say in closing is, as far as Dennis Quaid's performance goes, I'm going to borrow a line from another podcast. The podcast We Hate Movies has the concept of certain obnoxious child characters they call the disgusting shit boy. Dennis Quaid, even the first time I've seen him on screen, it was, it's finally happened. I have seen the cinematic version of the disgusting shit man.
Maybe this is because it's been popping up in my Facebook feed randomly, but I'm like, wait, is this what happened when Elizabeth left Nick Parker and took both the twins this time? Because the 1999 Parent Trap has been on my radar.
Man, that is a dark way to spin that. Respect it, though.
I don't know, my brain goes to weird places sometimes. You watch Dennis Quaid eat enough of that gross-ass shrimp, and you're like, okay, gotta make some copium.
Oh, I was gonna say the scene where she's Sue is in the elevator and her ear falls off. The ear looks so fake. I laughed.
yeah, that was funny. And it's when she loses her tooth and her instinct is pull out more of my teeth. Like, no.
I would go to the department and say, like, do y'all have, like, veneers or, like, anything? Like, my tooth fell out.
Yeah, you would think that would be her first impulse, but no. Which is what brings me back to, look, here comes the consequence. Look, here comes the consequences of my actions now.
Horror movie logic.
In terms of inspirations, I'll just say, if that turned your stomach, you are going to want to avoid the Jeff Goldblum version of The Fly, because that is a big influence on that scene.
Oh, God. Wait, so the Fly doing the backstroke in the wine wasn't just a random thing?
No.
You know, I didn't consider if that particular bit was a nod, but it's like, that entire sequence of, like, just the horror of watching your body fall apart, that is kind of what Jeff Goldblum is doing in, like, the second act of that movie.
Fun. All right. I think the time has come to ask, is the Force with it?
Definitely. Which side it's on is up for some debate, but it is definitely there.
I believe the Force is with it.
So, I'm gonna say no just because it crossed a little too many lines for me. It's on my I get this movie is great, I never want to see it again list, or to put it in fanfiction terms, the auteur is cooking, but my stomach doesn't like it.
That is totally fair.
Or however the quote goes.
That's fair.
I mean, as somebody who has several directors I like where I'll say they're an acquired taste, totally fair.
All right. Who has Pluggables?
Admittedly, nothing currently set in stone. Got a couple of proverbial irons in the fire, but nothing I can really declare at this point.
Okay.
You can follow me on X. I'll join Blue Sky at one point. I promise. At at Sydney_bug, and that's pretty much it. Donald Trump is trash.
Well, yes.
And in the spirit of Star Wars, to be there for the people who need us, this episode's Mutual Fund spotlight goes to the Adult Recovery and Youth Alliance. They are raising money to secure a safe and supportive sober living home for women and their children on their journey to recovery. The GoFundMe link can be found in the description for this podcast, as well as on my various socials under my new handle, Demisem. Our theme music is provided by Refractory Period, the two girls, one beat synth pop sensation. You can follow them on Instagram at Refractory Period, the band. To further support this podcast, please subscribe to us on your platform of choice, leave reviews, and share with your friends to boost our visibility, and consider joining our Patreon. And now, it's time to turn to the Chance Cube to decide where our journey takes us next.
I'm showing a 4.
4.
All right, it's a 4, which means next up is... Oh my god, it's Death Becomes Her!
Now that you could double feature with this pretty well.
Okay, we'll see you. We'll see you next time to cover another... Wait, isn't makeup or visual effects winning? Either way, there's an Oscar involved, and the industry, ageism, and featureism, and... Death Becomes Her. Until then, stay safe, stay strong, stay beautiful, and may the Force be with you.
You are one.